Hey, welcome. So today we're jumping into a fascinating story that really pits two totally different ways of life against each other. On one side, you've got a world built on structure, on merit, and on growing as a person. And on the other, well, it's pretty much pure chaos. Let's dig in.
So it all kicks off with this question. You've heard it before, right? It's from a kid named Evan, and it is the battle cry of teenage rebellion. He doesn't want to go to school, and he's basically questioning his parents' entire authority. But here's the twist. Instead of a big fight, his parents say, okay, let's run an experiment. Let's see what a world with no rules is actually like.
And just like that, Evan's rebellion shatters what his parents see as a really fundamental contract. And in their worldview, when you break an agreement like that, there's only one thing that follows: natural consequences. And wow, do things fall apart fast. It starts with simple defiance. Evan and his sister, Evelyn, just flat out refuse to go to school. So the parents' response? Just as simple. They pull back all support. We're talking no food, no laundry service, and, yep, you guessed it, they cut the internet. All of a sudden, this freedom they wanted starts feeling an awful lot like being cold, hungry, and really, really bored.
So what exactly is this contract they broke? Well, think of it as this unspoken deal, a two-way street. The parent's job is to provide all the stuff a kid needs to thrive, support, guidance, safety. In return, the kid's job is to follow the rules that are, meant to help them. The second the kids stopped holding up their end, the parents stopped providing the benefits. It's all about direct cause and effect.
Now, to really get why the parents did this, you have to understand their core philosophy. They weren't just being harsh for the sake of it. They were operating from a much, much bigger blueprint for how they believe life actually works. For them, our life here on Earth is basically a soul school. It's this giant training ground where every single thing that happens to you, every challenge, every success, is a lesson. The whole point isn't just to get a good job, it's to master your own inner energy and to build real, solid character. From this point of view, school, family, it's all just part of the curriculum. And this slide right here, it perfectly captures the heart of the conflict. On one side, you've got the soul school model. It's all about merit. Your effort gets you rewards. Facing tough tests is how you grow. On the other side, you have this demand for what they call social equity. That means equal outcomes for everybody. Participation trophies so no one's feelings get hurt. And this idea that avoiding hard things is actually a kindness. Two totally different paths. So what happens when you decide to drop out of soul school? Well, the father has a name for it, the karmic hammer. It's basically the raw, unfiltered law of consequence. He believes that as long as you're following the guidance of your teachers, your parents in this case, they act as a buffer. They can soften the blow when you mess up. But the moment you step outside that protective circle, you have to face life's lessons head-on, and the hammer can hit pretty hard.
So, after learning a pretty tough lesson at home, Evan and Evelyn head back to school, only to walk right into a social experiment that embraces the exact opposite of what they just learned. A new club is popping up, and its entire mission is to create chaos.
And here's the club's leader, a guy named Diesel. His philosophy is something else. He's not interested in merit or competence. For him, a leader's ability means nothing. All that matters is creating change, any kind of change, based on whatever fantasy feels right. It's a total rejection of reality-based standards.
Which, of course, brings us to the big question, what does a world without any rules really look like? Well, you're in luck because this club has some very, very specific ideas.
Just take a look at this list. Automatic A's for everybody, no effort required, no consequences for anything. They want to defund the principle, and it gets even wilder. They want football games with no refs and no scoreboards. You can just decide you scored. It's the complete and total dismantling of accountability, structure, and frankly, objective reality itself.
So you just know this is all heading for a major showdown. Evan and Evelyn, who are now fresh off their real-world lesson in consequences, decide to take their father's soul school philosophy and face off against the leaders of the Chaos Club in a huge debate. This table just lays it all out, and the contrast is absolutely stunning. The soul school side argues that true diversity is at the soul level, beyond race or gender. The club only focuses on the physical. One side believes in merit, the other demands equal outcomes for all. Soul School embraces objective reality. The Chaos Club says your personal fantasy is fact. And check out the last two, accountability versus defunding enforcers, and free speech versus canceling anyone you don't agree with. I mean, these two worldviews can't even exist in the same room. So where does the chaos philosophy eventually lead? What's the end game? Well, this quote from Rev, another club member, says it all. It leads to pure nihilism. His logic is, if we're all just one big collective mass consciousness, then you, as an individual, don't really matter. And if nothing matters, then you can do whatever you want, whenever you want, because there are no consequences. It's the ultimate permission slip for chaos.
So the debate is raging. The club is gaining steam. How on earth do you stop an ideology that rejects all rules and logic? Well, Evan has this flash of genius. He decides to use their own philosophy against them.
Oh, this is just brilliant. Think about it. In a system where anyone can self-identify as anything, with no objective truth, Evan just picks the highest authority he can think of. He identifies as the spokesman for the director of the entire cosmos. And what happens? In a room full of people who've rejected all traditional authority, they instinctively obey the person who claims the biggest authority. The meeting ends. Chaos is literally defeated by its own absurdity.
Okay, so with order finally restored at school, the father has one last lesson for his kids. It's all about how to protect yourself mentally and spiritually in a world where these chaotic ideas are floating around.
He calls it the armor of light. The best way to think about it is like a personal firewall for your soul. It's this protective energy shield that you build around yourself. Its job is to filter out all that negativity, the emotional manipulation, the psychic junk that was flying all over that cafeteria. It's basically a defense system powered by your own virtue.
So how do you turn it on? Well, there are two ways. The first is through your own personal power. You consciously focus on radiating positive, virtuous energy, good thoughts, good feelings. The second way is to simply ask for help from your spiritual guides, or as he calls them, your sponsoring teachers. But here's the catch, and it's a big one. That shield only stays on if you're living a virtuous life. The moment you have unharmonious thoughts or do something out of line, poof, it can switch right off.
And all of this brings us right back to the beginning. This whole story lays out two completely different schools of thought for how to live. One is the school of structure, of merit, of personal accountability. The other is the school of chaos, of guaranteed outcomes, and of purely subjective reality. So it kind of makes you think, doesn't it? As you go through your own life, which school are you enrolled in?